Welcome, everyone, to the EWA Podcast. We have a special guest lined up for you, and one simple question to start this one off.
What does everybody want?
A new adventure lies ahead. Battle has begun. The land of home brings a brand new quest, and I'll be number one. Looking for future by my side. Take to fuel my fire. I'm gonna be a Pokemon master, a beauty and a fire. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em. Of course it's your Pikachu. Pokemon, that's the turn never ends, and a world we must defend. Pokemon, Aquanana, better get back. Then my streaming start to attack. And now I'll be at the top of the stack of Pokemon.
And welcome, everyone, to the EWA Podcast. My name is Craig, and I'm going to stop saying what number podcast it is, because I kind of feel like if you come in down the road and you start listening to these podcasts, you're going to think you have to listen to them in order, and that's not the case, all right? It's not the case. You can listen to these in any random order. We don't reference each other at all in these podcasts, so welcome to an unnumbered, undetermined EWA podcast. Welcome back. It is wonderful to be here, especially after last week. Last week, the giant train wreck that was the Vegas connection came on and left a trail of destruction in their path. And thankfully, I have followed that up with a one-man destruction path of himself. And I want to thank Dylan, the Snowman, for coming on the podcast this week. Dylan, thank you for being here, bud.
Hi, it's good to be here. Thank you very much for having me on.
And Dylan, in case you can't tell, is using the stock microphone built into his laptop. So how's that working out for you?
It sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Well, you can't hear yourself, so
I have no idea what's going on.
I am hearing you talk, so it must be
Is it coming through in English, or is it in Spanish mode?
Can't tell what you're saying.
Oh, wow, never mind.
Can you change the Korean settings on your laptop?
I don't know what any of these buttons do. I don't know. Do you want to just fly through it anyway and see what happens? I'm sure we'll get something out of it.
I think we might be getting to the root of the BWO role plays right off the bat. What does your keyboard actually look like? Is it just a random series of symbols?
It's just one big button that says stuff happens. I'm like, you got it, and press it, and then post, you know.
And now, have you ever tried to use like the text-to-talk thing to write role plays?
No, no, because that would involve having to go out and buy something like that, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Because I know that there are some people that use that. I can't imagine sitting like here in my chair or like on the couch or anywhere and pretending to be Cody Rhodes, like speaking things that he would be saying. You know, like I don't want to say out loud and be like, Gregory Iron, you come out here and you just kind of talk like that, like you would feel like a real wrestler. I'm
what I really like not one of those talk and type things. What I quite like to do is do like a audio voiceover for my role play. So when you're reading them, I'll just do the voice for them.
Now, if you could have any person in the world do voiceovers for your role plays, who would you pick?
Christopher Walken. How famous would that be? Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Can you do a Christopher Walken impersonation of reading your role plays?
I cannot, but, if I had to, I'd give it a shot.
Excuse me, Edge. I think we need to sit down and have a talk about the Vegas connection.
That's pretty good.
I don't want to fool anyone. This is actually Craig still on the podcast, not Christopher.
Hang on, wait. Where did Christopher Walken go?
I'm still in the room, baby.
Oh, good. Don't leave us, Chris. We need you.
If you want me, I can do the podcast for Craig. That doesn't bother me.
I really love British Christopher Walken here. He's amazing. Can I hear Craig and Christopher Walken talk at the same time?
Yes, through the power of editing, I can make that happen. Don't fuck with the guy who edits the podcast, because he can make that happen. Dylan, let's talk about you for a bit. Let's talk about your history with e-fetting. and more specifically the EWA. When did you arrive at the EWA, and how long have you been the BWO and Steve Blackman and so forth?
Okay, well, I started in September 2006, I think, because it was at King of the Ring. My first match was at King of the Ring in 2006. I got my ass kicked. It was just brutal. Because Bryce had joined the EWA, and then I had stopped eVetting for ages, and then he was like, "Hey, why don't you come into the EWA? This is awesome new eVet I found," which I did. And as soon as I got in there, I'm like, "Oh, dude, I can't survive here. These guys are gonna kick my ass." Like everybody was so much better than I was. So it was just like me and Bryce in our RB corner against everybody else. But eventually we got pretty good. I started off as Lance Storm way in 2006. And then once I started getting bored of Lance Storm, I brought in Al Snow, who I had role-played as years before that. And then I retired Lance Storm and then brought in Blackman like a year later, I think, after I got bored of just writing stupid role plays. Because I kind of missed doing serious ones with Lance Storm. So I thought I brought Blackman in. I thought I could do them both.
All right, so have you been the only Steve Blackman here in the EWA? I
think so. I can't see why anybody else would want to be Steve Blackman, to be honest.
It's a valid point. So you are a multiple-time Grand Slam champion between different characters.
Yeah. I believe so. Yes, yeah. Lance Storm won the title. It's Super Brawl.
Yes, that is correct. And it looks like he held it for a pretty long time. Looks like he held on to it for about 4 months before John took it from you.
Yeah, I do what sucked about winning Super Brawl was I'm like, yes, oh, you won Super Brawl. But like right after that, I was like, well, I'm going to have to defend this title against John. I mean, that was definitely going to happen. I'm like, well, that kind of takes the sting out of it because I'm definitely going to lose to John, which is exactly what happened. I managed to sponge a couple on one side, but yeah, once I knew I was facing John, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a slaughter.
Yeah.
Because I still wasn't that good as Lance. Like, I've gotten way better at role-playing as Blackman, but as Lance Storm, I was kind of hit and miss, you know?
Yeah, you've kind of taken the Steve Blackman character and turned it into... I hate to say respectable because, Steve Blackman was a professional wrestler for, about 5 to 7 years, which is respectable in its own right. But I always find it interesting when people take these characters and give them these stories, like whether it be Val Venus with the blue collar worker or the stuff you've done as Steve Blackman, especially here in the last year whenever I've got to see you. But guys like Paul Burchill, Rene Dupree, I think this is part of the allure of e-fetting, is to take these guys and give them the fame and success that they never had in real life. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, that's kind of like why I picked those guys. I like picking. I don't like picking the guys who already have won everything because that's no fun. I like picking the guys who haven't done that well and have like a blank slate because then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, totally.
Like the Rock being Big. Oh no, Big being the Rock. A lot of the stuff he writes as is just the Rock.
Right.
And whereas with Steve Blackman you don't have anything to base it on. You just get to make up your own catchphrases and make up whatever you want. So I like that. It's more fun to kind of make up your own world based on like a real character.
Right, and I totally agree with you, and that's where I come from. I like the idea of Cody Rhodes being more successful in EWA than he is in WWE. That's not to say I don't want Cody to eventually win the WWE title in real life because, I think he's a talented worker and I enjoy watching him wrestle, but that's part of the allure. Every time that he loses to Tensai, like he did last night, it only makes me want to come out and just pound the next person that I have to go up against. You know what I mean?
Well, that's good. You see, again, I already have that because Steve Blackman hasn't wrestled in like 100 years. So
that is true.
He's probably retired right now.
Of course, but these other guys that have jumping points are obviously successful at doing that too. Guys like CM Punk. Kurt Angle's character is very similar to the way Bryce plays him, or at least to the mid-2000s Kurt Angle. Guys like Christian in the past and, The Rock, And
yeah,
these guys come in and they're very true to their gimmicks, but they're successful because the guys doing the writing are amazingly good writers.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They do the opposite. Instead of taking a blank canvas, they take somebody with a really quite clear attributes and stuff, like Kurt Angle. You know, everybody knows what his gimmicks are, and The Rock and Punk. Everybody knows what those guys are, and they kind of amplify them and make them like 100 times better. Because in eBay, you got like total freedom to do what you want, and they pretty much do. So they make them like even better versions of themselves, which is just weird.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
But yet, like I said, it's the allure and part of the fun of what it is that we do.
Yeah, I think it is a really big part of it. Just being able to. Cause this is stuff I never really thought of when I started role playing. Never put any of that thought into. I just role played because I thought it was a good idea. Sounded like fun. But now I'm much. You get into the character more and you think about all that stuff a lot more. You know.
All right, how about this? And you knew that these kind of questions were coming, so they can't be coming out of left field. But which character's role plays do you work harder on? Do you work harder on Al Snow role plays or Steve Blackman role plays?
I think the answer to that is pretty obvious, isn't it? I think it's quite clearly I put a lot more effort into Steve Blackman ones than I do the Al Snow ones.
Yeah, but well, of course, I understand that, but I mean, do writing Steve Blackman role plays come easier than writing BW role plays, or is it the opposite?
It's the opposite. The Steve Blackman ones are a pain in the ass to write.
Are
they? The BWO ones, right? Just like instantly, I just sit down with a blank word page and just write whatever comes into my head and then post it, and then afterwards check it for spell mistakes and stuff. But the Steve Blackman ones, yes, because with the Al Snow ones, you can just do whatever you want. But with Blackwood, I take that a lot more seriously. Because with Al Snow, I don't expect to win, ever. So that's why I just kind of write whatever I want and then post it because I think it's funny. But with Blackman, I want him to be a serious contender and a serious character and all that. So I put a lot more effort into it, and I tailor his character really specifically. Like stuff he says it, but there's a reason why he says it. Like if he does stuff, there's a reason why he does it, and it's all a lot deeper than the Al Snow ones.
So when you do an Al Snow or a BW roleplay, you don't expect to win?
Never, ever. I just sit down and go, just think of something really dumb to happen, and then I write that, and then they go, that'll do, and then post it. I'm really surprised that Al Snow has done as well as he has in the EWA. It's blown my mind. I'm like, how is this? Have you read the role plays? It's so stupid.
How do you think Nuke goes about judging your role plays?
I think he flips a coin. I have no idea how he does it. Do you remember the tag match for the titles a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
With the Vegas Connection, where they were like, "It's a really close call. I don't know how I could have decided it." I'm like, really? Obviously those guys put a lot of effort into their role plays. I felt really bad. I'm like, imagine if the BWO did win, man, those guys would have been pissed off, right? I mean, they were kind of disputing the fact that it went to a draw. But if the BWO had won, like, they went undefeated for so long, and then they lost to a bunch of guys who pretending to be army men for a day. It's so stupid. I would have felt really bad.
It is tough, but at the same time, you're consistent. Your role plays have length. They actually have a story to them. It's not like some of these guys you see and they come and they just start shit talking and they're like, you're not going out there and saying stuff like, well, DDP's a bitch because he has girly looking hair and a stupid porn mustache. It's like your role plays have depth and story. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit here.
That's another thing. You're like, beat over face. Nobody comes out and says, I don't slag up the other team or whatever. But that's kind of the point as well. I don't make reference to the other team at all. Most of the time, I'll never even point to the fact that I'll do a match that week. So it's not really a role play, I guess, is why I don't think I'm going to win that much. Because a role play to me is kind of like like a promo in the WWE where somebody goes, I'm going to kick your ass, and this is why, because I'm better than you. Whereas the BW role plays are just just really silly, and they're not they're not really about wrestling at all. I mean, the fact that the wrestlers is irrelevant because they don't wrestle that much and they don't talk about it. So I guess you could say that they're kind of inventive or whatever, but really I just think that they're really, really stupid.
Do you not feel like you try as Al Snow?
Well, I do try. Sometimes I'll delete the roleplay if I don't like it. I'll post a roleplay or an Al Snow roleplay if I think it's funny. If there's something in it that made me laugh, I'll post it. And if I write stuff and nothing's funny in it, then I'll scrap and start again.
Right.
But that doesn't happen very often. Whereas with Blackman, I've scrapped tons of role plays because they weren't good enough. They were just awful.
Okay, now what were you thinking as you were writing the Steve Blackman role plays for the Lethal Lottery last year? Because that was some of the finest work I've seen since I've been in the EWA. Not to stroke your ego and stroke your dick, but seriously, some of the best writing I've seen since I've joined.
I can't even remember what went on in those role plays.
He was like looking into the mirror and talking to like an alternate version of himself.
Okay. Yeah. Was I high when I wrote those?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
probably. I do that a lot.
How many role plays do you write while under the influence of or extracurricular drugs?
That's another thing. Everybody would assume that the BWO role plays are written when I'm high, and the Blackwood's are written when I'm sober. But I've probably written more Blackwood ones when I'm high than I have written Al Snow ones. Because the Al Snow ones just come so naturally to me. You know, I could write that kind of stuff all day. But the Steve Black ones, I sit for hours trying to write them, and then it kind of just after a couple of hours just staring at the blank page, you go, well, fuck this. I'm just gonna,
no shit, yeah,
have a joy or whatever. And then that gets your head thinking a bit clearer, and you start writing stuff. So probably way more Blackman ones than Al Snow ones.
Now,
which is weird.
It kind of deters me whenever you say that you don't expect to win with your Al Snow role plays, because I remember joining the EWA last year, and I sought you out for an Al Snow Cody Rhodes feud, and we actually wound up having a match, and Al Snow beat Cody. Yeah. And so to hear you say that is hurtful to me.
Well,
but
it's the way I approach a match. It's like as Steve Blackman, I always write them. I spend a lot of time in these role plays, and I really want them to win. And then if I don't win, you kind of feel a little annoyed. You're like, wow, I put all this effort in, and I haven't won. But with the Al Snow ones, if I do win, it's kind of like a bonus. It's like, oh, somebody thought this was funny. Somebody liked this role play. So it's just kind of nice to win. But if I lose, I'm not going to go, what? How the hell did Al Snow lose this match? That's just bullshit, because I could probably see why,
Yeah. Do you remember the feud that we had at all?
A little bit. I do remember beating you. Yeah, that was pretty.
Where we had the BWO lackeys or Cabana and Meanie think that Cody Rhodes was Dean Cain.
Yes, yes, I do remember that.
And then we had Colt Cabana hold up in a hospital, and Cody came dressed up as a doctor and beat the shit out of him. I
do remember that. Yeah, I think that started off just as a one-off joke, and then we just kept doing it.
Yeah, we turned it into a whole story. We had them try and go and get autographs from Cody. It was, but no, I seriously owe you a debt of gratitude. It's been so long since you've been through this. You probably don't realize how difficult it is for these new people to come in. Guys like Eddie Kingston, guys like Cassius Ohno, or at least this version of him, and to go out and seek out someone and to have that initial feud and to get, to show your consistency. I am definitely in your debt of gratitude. You helped me become hopefully a mainstay here at the EWA by giving me a shot and working a program with me over the course. Well, we actually worked together for about 5 or 6 weeks. So
yeah,
I was very fortunate to have you, and you actually helped me springboard into a spot in the Lethal Lottery, and then a program that I worked with Brett with Valvinus to eventually become national champion. So, I probably owe you a title shot, huh?
I think so.
I think
who doesn't want to see that match, right? Who doesn't want to see Al Snow?
Well, Al Snow is the only man that Cody Rhodes has never pinned.
Right? And then where's the title shot, huh? Fucking nowhere.
With a slew of others, you're the only person that he's never pinned.
That's crazy. Let's
talk about Steve Blackman a bit some more. Okay. You are actually the last captain of Super Brawl I've had on the podcast. So as long as you weren't high during the process, let's talk about your thought process with drafting your Super Brawl team.
Oh yeah, I can remember this. I had like a big plan of people I wanted on my Super Brawl team, as everybody does, I suppose. And even though this is like my third year or fourth year or whatever in Super Brawl, and I know how much of a pain in the ass it is and how hard it is to get the people you want on your team, I still kind of drew up this list of people I want on my team, and I was like, well, that's it, that's the team. Nobody's going to pick these guys, you know. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to pick Teasy. Not a chance. These are going to be on my team, you know. And then when it came to the draft, my internet went down for like 2 days, like the day of the draft.
Oh, so, yeah, that's right. You were the guy that like was sending in your picks via like Twitter on your cell phone.
But I had no idea. There was no announcement like the draft on Wednesday. I had no idea. My internet went down. I'm like, oh, big deal. And then Bryce says to the rest goes, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Everybody's pissed off. And I'm like, well, fuck them. I don't have any internet. I'm kind of pissed off, too.
Yeah.
You know, well, I care. So I had to make up a bunch of I basically had to make up a bunch of picks. I'm like, oh, I have no idea what's going on now. I've been into that. I can't see who's been picked and who hasn't been picked. I just have to pick a bunch of people. So the team I wanted didn't quite go the way I expected it to, but I still got a really, really good team out of it.
You had Masato Tanaka and Brian Kendrick and Goldust.
Goldust was the wild card, I think. Because I wanted Jeff and Cam on it, and I wanted Dan as well, but I think Dan was already on somebody else's team. I think he was on Bryce's team, wasn't he?
Yeah, as Nicholas Magnus.
Yeah, yes, I really wanted Dan on my team, but then I was like, all right, who's left? And Goldust. I know how good Goldust was because I've read his role plays, and they're ridiculously good. So I thought, oh, that's brilliant. You know, pick that guy. He'll really, he'll win this for me. He'll definitely win this.
Yeah. And who was your alternate? Do you remember at all? I can't remember off the top of my head. My
alternate for that year was The Miz. But I hadn't really put a whole lot of thought into alternates. So I was like, The Miz, because I know Judd will definitely. He's got my back.
And how did the group role-playing process go for you?
It went really well because all those guys are just really good at what they do. Right. So it couldn't have went smoother. I just kind of wrote up like ideas and the starts of role plays or stuff like that and sent them over. And they filled their bits in and did it perfectly.
Let me ask you this. This is kind of a side. With Dan being out, like Paul Burchill kind of being a non-factor for the last few months, would you consider Steve Blackman to be the leader of the Subline Empire?
Well, this happened at, last year, I think, or the year before. Yeah, it's supposed to be last year, I think. Mm-hmm. Where Burchill took like a leave of absence and Blackman just kind of assumed, because I didn't know what was going on with Dan, so I just, in storyline, I just had Blackman announce himself as the leader until Burchill returned. So now that Burchill's out again, it's probably going to be the same deal. You're just going to go, well, Blackman will take control of the group. But, he didn't have to announce it. I guess it's just kind of assumed that if Burchill's not there, Blackman kind of gets sole possession of the group till he returns, I suppose. But, yeah.
Let's see. There you go. And as far as the BWO, how did the character of Ergen come about? Because he's quite an interesting person.
Yeah, Ergen. That cracked us up so much. Me and Bryce, years ago, were just like spitballing ideas, and we came up with two, which were the Blue Meanie was going to be this guy who was possessed by the spirits of dead wrestlers. So all the dead wrestlers would speak through the Blue Meanie, and he'd go out to the ring and he'd do the crippler crossface, and he'd do all the moves that these dead guys did. That cracked us up. And the other character we came up with was Kurgan. But the idea with Kurgan was he had a speech impediment where he couldn't pronounce the letter K, so he called himself Ergen, but he didn't like it whenever other people used the letter K, so he would just go crazy and beat the crap out of them if they used the letter K as well, which cracked us up. We laughed so hard about that because it was so stupid, you know, like why would somebody give themselves a wrestling name that they can't even say? I thought that was so funny. But then after a while, we kind of just faded those traits out. The blooming, he's not really, you know, that doesn't come up so much. And Ergen, he's just called Ergen because that's his name now. You know, the K thing's kind of been forgotten about. Mainly because I'm such a shitty writer, I can't be arsed, you know, bringing that stuff in. I can't be bothered to remember to write my characters the way I'm supposed to.
Yeah. And now I know I've found out the story of D'Lo Brown before in a thread, but I haven't heard the story of how the Orange Clementine came to be in the BWO.
But that was just a one-off joke. That was just a one-off joke that people liked, and she kept coming back because I believe Clementine is a girl's name, but it's also a kind of small orange.
Right.
And I thought, well, we'll just run with that. It's a play on words, and then Colt Cabana's got a new girlfriend called Clementine. But it's an orange together. It's a pun, you know. And then I was going to forget about it. And then you, I think, thought it was really funny. And then I just started bringing it. And then other people started thinking it was funny as well. So I started bringing it back.
Yeah.
See, that's the power of the fans. If you guys want something in a BWO roleplay,
I gotta say, it's the power of the EWA universe, Dylan.
Oh yeah, you've no idea. Don't call us EWA universe. Don't do that.
You know, I only do that at the beginning of every podcast or in the podcast because I know how much it grinds on everyone.
Yeah, that makes us sound like a bunch of hacks, man.
Yeah,
why don't you type that? Why don't you type that? Put it on type.
You want me to type it out?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know, the first post in this thread is going to have something about the EWA universe in it.
That just sounds horrible, doesn't it? Oh, the EWA universe.
I might see if I can get Bryce to make a graphic for that. I tell you what, if you're listening to this podcast, I want to see the best EWA Universe graphic, and the winner of the EWA Universe graphic contest will be used as a banner for the EWA podcast next week.
Hey, can I enter?
Oh, yeah. Many will enter, few will win. It can't be as good as your John Cena signature.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Seriously, it was one of those things too where I saw it and it was just like John Cena and chocolate cake, and I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, he was in the middle of a cake factory or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Here's a question from a member of the EWA universe for you.
Is it going to be anonymous, or do I know who it is?
You'll have to go back and read. There aren't many replies in this thread, so I'm kind of stretching it out.
Bastard! How dare you not ask me questions?
I guarantee as soon as I start working on editing this podcast, there'll be 9 replies in this thread.
Well, I'll just come back on. I'll do some more.
There we go. Which members of the EWA universe would you like to see fight in real life, and who do you think would win?
Dude, everybody would kick my ass.
Not you, just two members. Who would you like to see fight?
Oh, okay. I thought you meant who would I like to fight.
No. Just 2 people.
Who would I like to see fight? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Let's see. I would like to see John fight the Dolph Ziggler guy in real life.
The guy who was Dolph Ziggler and went to the store?
Yeah. Because that guy's going to be like 7 or whatever. John's just going to beat the shit out of him. Oh, it's going to be amazing. I mean, you know, John will go to jail for beating the crap out of a kid, but it'll be worth it, right?
Yeah, because he totally stole those role plays.
He did. He didn't even make it a secret either.
That's the thing.
I remember there was somebody years ago actually stole one of John's role plays. That was unbelievable. Somebody came to the EWA and posted a role play, but they had stolen one of John's from a different e-fed. And John was like, "Excuse me, this is my role play. You didn't write this." Oh, it was unbelievable.
Wow.
I know, right?
If I was John, I would have messaged the GM and been like, "Hey, can you book me in a match against this guy? Because I kind of want to destroy him." I
remember there was one time me and Bryce, this was after that had happened, and me and Bryce thought it was funny. So we went back and stole our own role plays as a joke. That was when Bryce was still called Cabana. We went back and we we were in a match as Al and Colt, so we went back and stole a Lance Storm roleplay and a William Regal roleplay, because they were all roleplays, so that was why it was alright. We took the whole roleplay and then just changed the names, you know? And I think it was like, you know, so like, it was like, you know, Al and Colt are backstage at Super Brawl, you know, that kind of bullshit like that, you know? And then sometimes you wouldn't change the names at all to make it like, Al would go, hey, William Regal, and then Colt would be like, what do you call me? He's like, oh, I mean, Colt Cabana, like that, just for fun, to see if anybody would notice, right? And John was the only person who noticed. He's like, what was that about? Because I think he was running the Fed at the time. He's like, what was that about? I'm like,
everyone else probably read it and was like, what the fuck, Dylan?
No, we were like, nobody else bothered to read it. That's why nobody said us about it. John read it because he had to, because he was running the Fed then. Nobody else bothered to read them. That's what made us laugh.
What was that?
We always thought it was funny that nobody read our role, because for ages we were pretty sure nobody did read them. That's, again, why they escalated so quickly. So we were sure nobody read them, so we would like, well, just write whatever the fuck we want. Nobody's going to read them, you know?
That's kind of how I feel.
Aw, everybody reads your role plays.
Oh, you think so? Everybody reads our role plays?
Yeah.
I tell you what, in this podcast thread, whoever can write the synopsis of Cody Rhodes' EWA story, I will send you a signed T-shirt by me. Just a T-shirt I own.
Oh, it's like, what kind of T-shirt?
It just one I pick up.
Just a blank white T-shirt.
No, like it'll have a graphic on it. It might be like a basketball shirt or something, but I will sign it and mail it to you.
Okay, I'm gonna take up that challenge. I like this. This podcast is loads of fun challenges I can do.
This podcast has become very interactive, which is just another perk of the EWA universe in this podcast.
Oh, what is this cheap pops here? How many times have you said EWA universe? God damn.
I'm trying to ingrain it in everyone. Right here on the EWA forum.
That's enough of that.
Here's a would you rather scenario.
Okay.
Would you rather have to watch your parents have sex every day or join in with them just once?
You wrote that one.
You'll have to go back and look.
God damn it. Well, I wouldn't want to join in. That's just going to be bleh. I guess the lesser tables would have to watch it, right?
Every day for the rest of your life?
Well, yeah, because then you get desensitized to it. You're like, oh, you guys doing it again? God damn it. Get away from the TV, you know? You kind of... But then if you join in, then shit's going to get awkward around that house forever, you know? Just sitting at the breakfast table, you're like, oh, I have to leave. No, that would not be good.
Yeah. Are you as fascinated with Pokemon in real life as you are in your role plays?
Yeah, I fucking love Pokemon. It's brilliant. Yeah. That's why I write about it so much. Just, you know, write about what you know. I know drugs and Pokemon. So, that's what I do. Fucking love Pokemon.
I think I just found the tagline for this podcast.
What?
I fucking love drugs and Pokemon.
Well, I'd like to think that's my catchphrase.
I want to say...
People look at me and go, that guy loves his drugs, loves his Pokemon.
Is that what you want your tombstone to say?
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Here lies Dylan. He fucking loved Pokemon. He loved drugs.
Yeah, because, you know... Who does?
One of them was the death of him. Take your guess.
It's definitely Pokemon.
He died by Pokemon.
That shit gets hardcore. I get really competitive. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So let's. You get to have the dubious pleasure of partaking in one of the more popular EWA podcast segments. It's time for Penis in Your Anus.
And now it's time for...
Penis in Uranus, 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 penis in Uranus.
Yay.
And if you don't know the concept of Penis in Uranus, it is basically Dylan is going to have the floor for 30 seconds to talk about something in the EWA or WWE. Most likely EWA. He doesn't know much about WWE. That's why we haven't really touched on it. But something in the EWA that just kind of irks him or kind of bothers him. And If you're ready, Dylan, the floor is yours, my friend. Go ahead. You have 30 seconds starting right now.
Well, this is going to be awkward. This is going to be a really awkward 30 seconds because nothing at all bothers me about the EWA. So, I'll just stop talking right now.
There has got to be something about the EWA that bothers you. Whether it's the cards not being updated or people asking where the fuck the events are, there has to be something, right?
Well, that's kind of annoying. But I never talk about that kind of crap in my role plays anyway.
I like how I just exfoliated my penis in Uranus.
Yeah. Well, here's what we'll do. I'll do the podcast, and then you answer the questions. How about that?
Actually,
so, Craig, when did you start role playing? That's a great story. That's amazing. Hey, Craig, let me ask you another question. Who is your favorite Pokemon?
Geodude. Is he
good choice. Good choice. All right, Craig, let me ask you another question. So I'm out of questions already.
All right. Well, thank you. This has been a wonderful
good.
segment. Actually, I actually have something like that in the works coming up. So thanks
about Pokemon.
Yeah, thanks for ruining everything, though.
Hey, it's what I do. It's what I do. Yeah. Let me see. Stuff that nothing really annoys me with EWA because I think it's a really, really awesome place to tease, I think. But stuff that really used to annoy me was people being better at role playing than me. That annoys me. If everybody could stop being so good at role playing, that would be peachy. So
you must just be annoyed all the time.
You've no idea. Just every time I go into a match, it's like, fuck, god damn it. Can somebody just, shoot these guys or chop their hands off or something? Let me win once. All right? That would be lovely.
I like how your answer to trying to win a match isn't to try and outright them. It's that hopefully somebody shoots them. I hope somebody shoots my opponent.
You have no idea how many times I've been role playing against somebody and I've been like, is it mean for me to pray to God that my opponent dies of a heart attack? Is that too much to ask? Hardly it is me. But
you're gonna feel really bad the time that your opponent dies via heart attack the week of.
I'm not gonna feel that bad. I'll be like, oh, I can't believe it worked. Holy shit. There is a God. And then if there is God, why didn't you answer me sooner, God damn it? What's up for that? He'll do it against somebody I could easily beat, He'll do it against Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler dies. I'm like, God damn you! Why couldn't you have done it against anybody who would have kicked my ass? Yeah. That is actually one thing that kind of, whenever you write a role play and then you read your opponent's and it's so much better than yours and you're like, oh, dude, that hurts. Oh, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah. Do you take Steve Blackman losses personally?
Kind of, because you put a lot of effort into it, and it kind of sucks when you lose. I try not to get too worked up about it, because it's just a game and it's all silly stuff. But at the same time, everybody spends a lot of effort in their role plays, and not everybody can win. But it's just nice when you do. Like last year, I think I lost more than I won with Steve Blackman, but I was really happy with the role plays I put out. And the matches I was in, they were all quite competitive. And, I didn't mind they lost because I knew how good my opponents were,
Is it easier or tougher beating someone like your friend Bryce, like last year with the Blackman and Shark Boy storyline?
Oh, it's so easy. Oh, just crush him. Beautiful. Could do it all day.
And you don't have any problem with that?
No, but Bryce? No way. Well, the thing is, we used to be running a joke whenever I was Lance Storm, me and Bryce. We used to, the William Regal, Lance Storm friendship was always hinted at and made quite clear in our role plays and stuff. And we used to tag together and stuff. And yet it seemed like we fought all the time. I remember whenever Lance Storm was Super Brawl captain, the way I had to, be the captain was I had to role play against Bryce. Whichever one of us won the captain spot. You guys are just doing this to fuck with it, It was always William Regal versus Lance Storm, despite the fact that we made it quite clear that we're on the same page, Mm-hmm. So we always find ourselves fighting each other. But now I would not envy having to take on Kurt Angle at all, Like a couple of years ago, me and Bryce, no problem. But after the way he kicked my ass last year, whatever it was Steve Blackman versus Kurt Angle, I'm not too eager to do that again, That was not good.
No doubt.
No.
But you had a pretty good run there as Steve Blackman for a while, and you turned a lot of heads. And for new guys that come in like me, like I was last year, it was pretty fun to read some of Blackman's role plays that you had. They were really good stuff.
Well, I'm glad you liked them. That's kind of the point, isn't it? You want people to like them.
Indeed. Bryce, this has been a blast. I think I've got about enough material here. I'll probably only have to cut out about 60 to 70 minutes.
Did you just call me Bryce? You call me Bryce.
Hold on a second. Well, Dylan, I think I have enough material here to where I can turn this into a usable podcast, and I certainly did not just call you Bryce and edit that out. So
thank you very much, Cleve.
None of this is usable.
Yes. Ruined the podcast. That's what I do.
All right. Well, all right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everyone, to the EWA Podcast. No, seriously, Dylan, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for coming on. I know it's difficult with the time difference with guys like yourself and Bryce, and I know I've been talking to a few others from across the sea, so I appreciate you making the effort to come on here and have a good time with me. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it was fun. We should do it again sometime.
We will. Whenever you get a seriously good microphone, we will.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not. All right,
No.
Dylan, thank you. Have a good one. Best of luck to you this week.
Thank you. I'm going to need it, right? I'm going to need it.
Against
Even
the Vegas
those guys will
Connection.
die of a heart attack, so here's hoping.
You're going to feel bad.
No offense, guys, but, right?
You're going to feel bad.
Not that bad.
All right, good.
The tag
Dylan,
titles to make me feel better. So
yes, they will. Nothing like a little gold can't fix it, my friend. This has been the EWA Podcast. If any of you would like to come on and join me, feel free to download the program Skype and get a username and all that good stuff. You can use the microphone right on your laptop or your screen or whatever the hell you have a microphone on. Feel free to send me a PM on the forum, and we'll get something set up to get a podcast time done. And you can ask anyone that's been on here. They're pretty painless and pretty fun, so there's no reason not to. Best of luck to everyone at Undisputed this week, and everyone but Steve, who's taking on me. You can go fuck yourself.
Fuck him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I said it.
He said it, not me, Steve. All right, we'll be back next week with a special guest. Until then, everyone have a good one.